Hello friends and welcome into the Cowboys Report presented by BetDSI, the internet's #1 sportsbook. I am your host Tom Downey. So let's start things off today on today's show with the latest Cowboys rumors and some notable ones on injury here. First up, is Connor Williams going to miss some time? Well, this one we're going to give it 4 stars. Jason Garrett confirmed it at his press conference. Williams is going to undergo arthroscopic knee surgery, and the Cowboys hope he can return next week, which is great and all. But much like Randy Gregory, I think Williams might need that extra week to recover. Now, I know a lot of you aren't all that happy with Connor Williams, and I get why. He's good for about 3 or 4 rather critical mistakes per game, has allowed a couple sacks and too many hurries. Overall, he looks a little bit outmatched at times and has been rather average compared to a bunch of other guards around the NFL. Either way, the Cowboys are going to not have him this weekend. In all likelihood, might not have him for a week after that as well. But with the Cowboys desperate here to make a playoff push, they might try and rush him back. Now, with Connor Williams out, the question becomes who steps up at left guard. So there's been quite a bit of buzz about could La'el Collins go back to offensive guard. And although Jason Garrett said all options were open, I'm only giving this 1 star. I'd be rather surprised if this is the route the Cowboys decided to go. In all likelihood, it'll actually be Redmond, the current swing center / guard, who steps up as the next guy. They do have Xavier Su'a-Filo as well, but think about it from the Cowboys' long-term perspective here. They want La'el Collins to be the guy at right tackle. And he's been put in a bit of a rough spot the past, frankly, year and a half or so because there's been so much shuffling. He's a tackle, then he's a guard, then he's got one O-line coach, then they bring in Paul Alexander, and now he's fired. This offensive line in general, I think, needs some consistency in terms of who's playing where. So it might not actually be your best 5, as bad as Cam Fleming was in the preseason. He actually might be your 6th best offensive lineman right now. But I think if it's only a week or 2 week scenario for Connor Williams, it probably does make more sense to keep Collins out at right tackle, hope he can develop out there, than to move him to guard for 2 weeks and then put him back at right tackle. That's only going to stunt him even further. Now, who do you guys want to start at left guard? Redmond, I think, is the favorite. That'd be who I would put my money on right now. Su'a-Filo could be an option as well, and frankly, he actually might be a better fit against the Eagles, but I think the Cowboys trust Redmond a little bit more right now. Now, folks, today's show is brought to you by BetDSI. Go to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code Cowboys120 for the best deal out there. You put down $100, they're going to give you $120 for free for a grand total of $220 to bet with on BetDSI. You've got yourself some house money to play with at chatsports.com/bet if you use promo code Cowboys120. All right, next up, more injury talk here. Is Sean Lee going to miss a month? Well, 4 stars on this one as well. You're not going to see Sean Lee on the field as, stop me if you've heard this before, Sean Lee hurt again. And we were at the game here, producer Brett and I, Mitchell Renz as well, and James Yoder, all at the Cowboys game, and we all saw what happened. Sean Lee pulls up, grabs that hamstring. I was wearing my Sean Lee jersey. Looked to my left, a fellow man wearing a Sean Lee jersey, and we shook our heads and went, well, that is just classic Sean Lee. So 4 to 6 months without Sean Lee, and frankly, or 4 to 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, not months. That's a big difference there. 4 to 6 weeks for Sean Lee. The Cowboys on the bright side don't need to rush him back necessarily because Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith have been fantastic so far this year, and I think it's a huge deal for the Cowboys overall that in years past, when Sean Lee goes down, the defense is screwed, right? Not so much with Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith playing so well. Damian Wilson will probably be 3rd in snap counts, but they're kind of thin right now with no Joe Thomas and no Sean Lee. Now, given Sean Lee's injuries, is this the end for Sean Lee as a Dallas Cowboy player? I'll give it 2 stars, and frankly, it borders on 3 for me. Now, there are a couple different options here. Number 1, the Cowboys keep Sean Lee, which at this point I think is a bit of a long shot given his current salary. $10 million next year. You save 7 by cutting Sean Lee. That's a strong outcome. Next up, maybe you ask Sean Lee to take an outright pay cut, which we'll see. You can't restructure the deal because there's only 1 year left. You could extend him, but I think that's a bit of a long shot. Or maybe you make Sean Lee do the old Tony Romo move. Maybe you get Sean Lee to retire and you get him to come be a coach for the Cowboys. At this point, even Sean Lee knows it. He can't even get through back-to-back games at this point. That's a bad sign for his long-term career. So I will say this, though. I love Sean Lee, but he's not going to be worth $10 million next year. So I think it's either cut him, as much as it pains me to say that, or get him to come be a coach. You can coach linebackers or an assistant linebackers coach for a year, but I want Sean Lee as a defensive coordinator to groom down the road, if you will. All right, keep it rolling here with some more Cowboys rumors, folks. Here are the Cowboys Report presented by BetDSI. Next up, could Cole Beasley leave in free agency? I'll give this one 2 stars as well. And look, Cole's been very vocal. He wants to get the bag, and I don't blame Cole at all because this is going to be his last contract. All right, he's 30 years old now. He wants to get paid, and I will never fault a player for wanting that. And if you're thinking about Beasley, we know the Cowboys lowballed him, which I would have done too if I was the front office members. But the staff has also done a pretty bad job of using Cole Beasley this year. They kind of waffle back and forth as to, okay, we're going to use him this week, and then he's just going to fall out of the game plan the next week. So the numbers haven't been great, but don't let them fool you necessarily. Beyond Amari Cooper now, he has been the most consistent receiver in terms of getting open. The Cowboys, for whatever reason, though, can't seem to scheme for more than 1 or 2 guys at a time under Linehan. Now, the big question is, should Dallas re-sign Cole Beasley? And I don't know if he's going to get it, but he's going to ask for $10 million, which I know because he said so. He said he wants to be among the highest-paid slot receivers in the NFL, and that ends up being about $10 million per year. If it's that cost, it's a little high, but I'm open to it. I'd prefer lower, but we'll see what ends up happening there with Cole Beasley. All right, next up, again, looking ahead here, is Dak going to be the quarterback in 2019? I'll give it 3 stars, and it's really 3.99. The 0.01 really being, maybe he gets hurt, or maybe something truly out there happens. But Dak, and for good reason, is the heavy betting favorite to start in 2019. Note number 1, the Cowboys love Dak. We know that. And by the way, he's cheap. Don't underestimate that influence there. This quarterback draft class is not very good, and you have no first-round pick. Not that you're going to get Justin Herbert anyway, because you're not going to out-tank the Giants if Herbert even does declare. But the free agency group might be even worse. Here are the BetDSI odds they provided to us on who will be the Cowboys QB in 2019. Dak minus 500 for good reason. The field plus 500. And then Eli Manning plus 500. Hard pass. You can maybe talk me into Nick Foles if you guarantee me playoff Nick Foles, but I don't think that's who he is. I have always loved Colt McCoy plus 1,000, but he's a backup. I'm all for Teddy Bridgewater. I'm here for that, but the Saints aren't going to let him leave. Tyrod Taylor's been bad. Tyrod or Tyrod. Mike Glennon, that's a disaster. Brock Osweiler, I just don't want a big, tall, white quarterback like those guys because they aren't very good. Fitzpatrick plus 7,500. You can maybe talk me into Jameis Winston if you wanted to. Producer Brett kind of tried a little bit there, but really in the end, what's the big difference there between the way they're playing right now between Winston and Dak? Winston throws more but makes way more mistakes. RG3, I wanted him as the backup, but he's not a starting caliber quarterback at this point in the NFL career. So let me know, who will be Dallas' starting QB in 2019? Type D for Dak, type O for other. The field was basically your draft class. Look, maybe you can talk me into like a Will Grier, but overall, this quarterback draft class is pretty darn bad. Your best bet, as I've said before, start Dak this year, start Dak next year, go get a quarterback in 2020's draft class. Now, you can bet on those odds right now at chatsports.com/bet. Use promo code Cowboys120 for a 120% deposit bonus. What that means is, you put down $100, they will give you $120 for free to bet with on top of your $100 for a grand total of $220 to bet with. You're playing with house money if you use promo code Cowboys120 at chatsports.com/bet. By the way, Dak as a starter, and that's pretty much free money. All right, some more Cowboys rumors here. Is Garrett going to continue to stick by Scott Linehan? I'll only give it 2 stars, and maybe this is me being just a little bit optimistic or delusional if you want to go that route, or just hopeful. But Garrett's quote was that right now, Scott Linehan will call the plays. And I do think the right now is a noteworthy qualifier because it's come down from being very adamant to the qualifier of, well, for now. And I think from a logical perspective, at a certain point, Garrett's got to take over to save his job, right? Like, that's kind of the logic behind it, because if Garrett and Linehan are tied together at the hips, they're both going to go down, I would certainly hope at this point. But do you guys want Scott Linehan fired? I think you all agree with me as I type in FS here on Facebook Live and YouTube, because he's just not getting the job done. All right, some more Cowboys rumors here. This one from me. Does Dallas not know how to use tight ends? It's 4 stars. This one is an outright no-brainer because the Cowboys have proved really over the past couple years that unless the name is Jason Witten, they don't really know what they're doing at the tight end position. They just don't know how to use those guys. They made Blake Jarwin the heavy pass option versus the Titans. I honestly don't know what the Cowboys see in Blake Jarwin. He ain't it. Stop trying to make him happen. So here's the snap count breakdown as I tweeted out earlier this week. Jarwin led the way with 27 snaps. 23 of those were routes. 2 were pass blocks and 2 were run blocks. That just screams to any competent defensive coordinator, when Blake Jarwin's on the field, it is a pass play. That's not good use. And by the way, Blake Jarwin, he's not that good. Dalton Schultz was next up. He had 24. 9 were pass routes. He was mostly your run blocker, which of the 3 guys, I guess that's the route I would go, but Dalton Schultz is really not there yet as a true inline tight end blocker. But I think overall his usage is a little bit more realistic. And then maybe what borders the most here on true negligence for tight end usage is Rico Gathers. 18 snaps, 6 of them were only 6. A third were pass routes. 4 were pass protection plays, and 8 were run blocks, i.e. those were mostly 2 tight end sets. But here's the thing. If you're going to make one tight end only come on the field for passing downs, why is it Blake Jarwin instead of Rico Gathers? It doesn't make sense. The Cowboys truly have no idea how to properly use their tight ends unless they're named Jason Witten. I'm glad the Cowboys kept Rico, because maybe a competent coaching staff on offense could figure out how to actually use him well. Now, folks, if you guys like the shirt that I'm wearing, go get one of your own. Mizzen and Main, the best damn dress shirt out there. Comfortable.af is the website, and that URL checks out, because you will not find a more comfortable dress shirt than a Mizzen and Main shirt. All right, one last rumor. Are Cowboys fans just a bunch of fair weather fans? Well, this one's fake news. First off, it comes to us from Eagles center Jason Kelsey, and I'll make note here. The Cowboys continue to live rent-free in the minds of Eagles and Eagles fans everywhere. Here's Jason Kelsey's quote about the Cowboys fans. There are a lot of fair weather people from across the country that just kind of fell in love because they're winners instead of having any type of emotional connection to the team whatsoever. Which, maybe that was true in the 1990s, but that's not true now. What do you mean they're only fair weather fans because they're winners? What Cowboys team have you been watching lately, Jason? They don't win. There's plenty of emotional connection. I've seen it all the time in the comment section. The Cowboys are not just a bunch of fair weather fans. Not at this point. Maybe in 1994 or 95 or 96, you can make that argument. That was 20 years ago. The Cowboys don't win Super Bowls anymore. They don't win playoff games. They're not here because they're winners. You're here because you're attached, or maybe you're trapped, kind of, I think, like I am at this point. But speaking of the Cowboys, Eagles, predict the score, folks. DM me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney. If you're the first one to get it right, we'll send you $25. Perhaps it's no surprise, no one got it right last week against the Tennessee Titans. But again, folks, DM me on Twitter if you want to get a chance to win $25. Predict your score, and then stay tuned for tomorrow for next Cowboys Report.